What is going on? I'm happy to see you're still alive, not emaciated. Can you tell Gainz Nation what kind of suffering, what kind of a sick human you are?
Yeah, so the time has come, guys. As you guys, well, actually, if you listened to the audio last week, unfortunately, funny short story is I uploaded the audio version of last week's episode, but on the video format, the YouTube version, I unfortunately forgot to hit publish, and then I had to catch a flight. So my laptop was sitting there on the charger with like YouTube and like publishing the Gainz podcast episode. So I apologize, but if you guys saw the audio, you knew I was headed to the marathon weekend. If you haven't and you just watched like the last episode like recently, then it's a little bit backlogged if you're watching the video, but if you're audio, you're caught up. But this past Sunday, I did just run my first ever marathon at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. So yeah, very excited to get it done. I feel like
question, buddy.
Yeah, I was gonna say so unfortunately, like I'm gonna be doing a lot of talking this episode. We apologize now if you wanted to hear from Roman, but Roman's probably gonna do comments and like questions in most of this podcast. We're just gonna be talking about like the marathon experience. Roman, if you want to talk about anything you're doing right now, if there's anything that you want to get out, like go ahead, buddy. No, just fill it in whenever you want. I just don't want to be rude to you, buddy.
This is all about you today, buddy. No, I'm really excited to like hear about your experience, and this is honestly like this has been kind of like a long-term, maybe like lifetime goal of mine. I just put running on the back burner so I could focus more on like bodybuilding, like gaining muscle, like focus more on like aesthetics, my physique over the past like 4-ish years. But it's something that like as I'm getting back into like endurance type activities, it's definitely been something that's like been on the back of my mind. So I'm really excited to hear about it. But I might be flying into Orlando in a couple of I don't know, maybe a couple months. I don't want to say a couple weeks, like probably like end of February, early March.
Yeah.
So yeah, how was the Orlando airport? Was it a zoo or was it quiet? Because I've heard so many different stories that like flights are like kind of dead, but then yeah. So how was that experience?
Yeah, flying there was no problem, but flying back, there was a TSA wait for like 30 or over 30 minutes. Thankfully, I got lucky, and they opened up a new line, and I moseyed my way out. Like the guy wasn't even talking to my line. He goes, "If you guys want to just go over here, we're starting a new line." I just grabbed my stuff and just hightailed out of there. And then I was like, cool. And so I got through TSA within like 10 minutes instead of like 30 minutes like everyone else. I guess that's the perks of me being like a person that's overbounding, I guess, and like never really like just stays, I don't know. I'm just like I'm always like that. But yeah, leaving Orlando is kind of rough. I don't know how it's going to be in like February and March, but like, yeah, I think like I said, leaving Chicago is like no big deal. Getting back was like kind of rough, and everyone was late on my plane. Like there was a gap. I take Southwest, so it's like I was like B50, and then from like B50 to like 25 or 30, whatever it is, there was like a whole gap between. But the flight was full, but everyone was just late. So it's just like, thankfully we landed on time, but like everyone everyone got on the plane like late as hell. So
interesting. And everything was good, like once you get to the airport and whatnot, like nothing like
easy. Yeah. No, nothing like that stuff, man. Just it's all blown out of proportion, I bet, for most of the time. But no, I didn't have any issues. Like if anything, my flights were both early. We landed like 30 minutes early in Chicago. I think we landed like 15 minutes early in Orlando. So, but maybe I just got lucky. There's no there's no rain in the forecast either in Chicago or going to Florida on the way back. Just sunny skies. So it's like that probably helps too. There's not really high winds. Like there's barely any turbulence at all. So
how was the weather? Was it like hot there? Was it because I heard Cool. At certain like a
Yeah.
little near Jacksonville. What was that like?
Yeah, it just reminds me of like honestly it reminded me of like Arizona winter. Like it's like 70s during the day. Like it's really nice in the sun, but once the sun goes down, it's like drops to 50, 40, 45 degrees and it gets cold. So it's like I'm used to it. Like honestly, probably the perfect weather to be in the West Coast or the East Coast probably around this time. But like, like I went to the beach the day before the marathon and like the ocean was freaking cold. And also too, we went to my friend's house yesterday and I just realized I went in the Atlantic Ocean for the first time. So because when I used to go to Florida a lot because my brother went to medical school in Tampa, I didn't realize I was going in the Gulf Coast instead of the ocean. I guess it's like technically the ocean, but like not like the Atlantic Ocean. So that's like the first time I've ever been there, and I didn't even realize it until yesterday. So it's like I went in there, and I probably would have made a bigger deal of it, but no, I just went in the water. It was cold, but like I went in anyways, and it was nice.
Nice. That's amazing. All right. So leading up to the race, what was your dinner meal beforehand, if you remember, and then what was your last meal before you started the race?
Like the meal before the race and then after the race.
So no, what was like so before you went to bed, like the night before, what was the
Yeah.
dinner you had, and then what was the like the pre-race meal that you had?
Yeah. So before we get into that, I probably will honestly like I was asking Sam, and I'll probably ask you too, Roman. I do want to like make a kind of like intensive training slash like how I prepped for like the 10 months or 11 months of training. I do want to post that. So hopefully you guys like nudge me to do that because it's going to be hard to like format it. So I'm still I want to like write something together where I could format it because I do definitely want to go over like nutrition, my activity for like every week and then like what my running looked like. I did all the training plan myself. My brother is a marathon runner. He's ran like multiple where he qualifies for Chicago, and then he's almost qualified for Boston. So someone that I definitely try to listen to is my own brother, which thankfully I have in my back pocket. And also to jump in the gun here, I do qualify for the Chicago Marathon now, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah,
Insane.
for my age group and being male, my time would officially put me in if I wanted to. But anyways, so I'll probably do something like that. I would like to like kind of like put something out there. It might be a long formatted one where it's like maybe 40, 50 minutes. Just depends on what I have because I do want to show like actual like proof of stuff and whatnot. But back to your question, Roman. We actually so the day before the marathon, I drove to Cocoa Beach, which is like an hour away where I stayed. It's like pretty much like 15 minutes south of Daytona Beach,
Yeah.
which is I wanted to go there, but it was like an hour 20. So I didn't want to spend the extra 20 minutes like to drive there and back. So I went to Cocoa Beach, which it seems like a smaller like beach town pretty much. And pretty much I wanted to just chill the day before the race. I did want to like carb up somewhat. Unfortunately, when you're traveling, like the food and like your digestive system and stuff, it's like I feel kind of thrown off. I did grocery shop like the day before, like 2 days before the race, and I actually grabbed a bunch of stuff that I would like eat normally, like in the mornings or normally before training. So I did grocery shop a little bit. So I was trying to eat some foods that like I was just used to. But pretty much I was just trying to like carb up because like I knew I had to go to bed early because the race started at 5 a.m. But since my brother and sister-in-law ran like Disney runs before, you pretty much had to get there like 3 a.m. So to secure a parking spot and also to get in your corral to be like the front of your corral because like our corral, to give you guys an example, it was like 2,000 people deep. So we had to get to our corral at like 3:30, 3:45 and pretty much wait there on the gravel in short shorts, in a shirt with like 50-degree weather with no sun, and like sit there and wait till pretty much 5 a.m. once they started, letting the A group, the B group, the C group, and then our group, which is the D group. But I know I'm jumping around, but
did you wear like a garbage bag to keep it?
The Mylar blanket, it's like pretty much like aluminum foil.
Yeah, nice.
Yes, and then like we just threw it over the side of the course where people like were picking up garbage, because like it would interfere with your bib if you ran like across the starting line with it. So they advised us to do that, obviously. So, but yeah, so went to the beach. I tried carbing up as much as possible. Like I brought a bunch of Cliff Gels with me. That's pretty much like maltodextrin, which is like powdered carbohydrates, and it has like some flavoring in it, and it's like pretty much like you're pretty much just like sucking on gels. So I did, I brought those to the beach. I brought like some sandwiches, like an apple, like I was eating some fruit, and then on the way back before dinner time, I did get some ice cream at the Fat Donkey, which my buddy suggested. So I did get some ice cream. Obviously that's not really like a good carb source to carb up with because of the fats in it, like the high fat content. But you know what, I wasn't going back there, and I'm like, I'm going to get some ice cream before dinner. So I got some ice cream before dinner, and then I met my brother and my sister-in-law and their two friends that were at Disney too, at Disney Springs. And then we went to this like Italian place, and I actually, which pretty much would be like a typical meal. I had like a chicken breast and thigh with a creamy polenta, which I actually do eat polenta for breakfast sometimes. So Sam and I actually do eat polenta, but mostly for breakfast and not for dinner. But I thought it was interesting, so I got that. And then yeah, we left there and tried it. I tried going to bed at like 7 p.m., which is like pretty rough for me because I knew I was waking up at 2 a.m. Like I was trying to get to bed by 7, but in reality, I probably went to bed by like 7:38. I just don't know because I don't like Roman and I always say, like, I don't really look at my phone. I don't like, I even turned the alarm clock like facing down because the light is so bright on those things. So I turned it down and then just turned off the TV. And then just like sat there and just try to relax and just try to empty my mind as much as possible to like not like get myself nervous. So I did that. And then the next day, you asked me the pre-race meal. Honestly, honestly, I did pretty much the same meal like I did was for the training for the marathon, besides throwing like hard-boiled eggs in the mix. So if you guys have been paying attention, honestly, my go-to was either like oatmeal or Pop-Tarts. And I got a bunch of like Pop-Tarts at the grocery store, and I ate 1 pack of 2 pastries, and then I had 3 hard-boiled eggs, and then I usually did protein powder, but I didn't want to carry it with me. So I actually, when I went to the grocery store, I just got like a 40-gram like protein shake, and then I drank that. So usually I would only do like 20 to 30 grams of protein, but because it was a 40, I was like, well, I am running a marathon, for crying out loud. Like, I really don't care if it's like an extra 10 grams of protein. So I ate that before the race, and then actually before the race, because I knew we were going to sit there for like an hour and a half, I brought another thing of Pop-Tarts. So I actually had 4 pastries of Pop-Tarts, 3 hard-boiled eggs, and then the protein drink before the race. And then I actually had a cup of coffee at like 2:30 because I definitely wanted to make sure, because like I was like, I always have the cup of coffee. And then before the race, I did pop a 200 milligram caffeine pill. And then yeah, that's to answer your question. Sorry about that. But if you want to ask me another one, yeah.
That's absolutely perfect, because that's like exactly like the kind of thing that I think we've preached in the past, but I think it's instructive and hopefully insightful to our listeners, because sometimes you get to that moment and you're like, pasta, I gotta have pasta, but you haven't been having pasta.
Yeah.
And because you eat like so many meatballs, and that's like, it could be made with like 80-20, something like that.
70-30.
and it throws your gut off. and you have like diarrhea the next morning and you're dehydrated and then you're like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? So that was awesome, buddy. Thank you for kind of walking through that. So what were your feelings like leading up to like the start? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Was it like a combination of both?
Yeah, so like I was saying before bedtime, honestly, like I just try to like block everything out. I pretended like it was like a normal training day. Like obviously your body gets thrown off. Like, you're waking up early, you're driving at 2:50 in the morning, and like when's the last time people like would wake up at 2:50 in the morning to drive? So your body, I feel like kind of is smarter than you think. So it's at that point where you just kind of just like you kind of go back to that. I'm always gonna say it because I love that's where I got it from. But like the Mamba mentality, where it's like you did the work. Kobe Bryant said, you do the work, you show up, and then you prove it. Like you show up and you give them what you worked at. So I always just have that in my back of my head, and you're probably gonna think this is funny, but like honestly, I was just watching Ronnie Coleman videos before I left the hotel. I was like, like even though like it was running, I just always go back to just watching like Arnold or like Ronnie Coleman. I actually put on some Lou Ferrigno where he goes, you want to do the same way? He goes, no, I want more. I want to beat him. So it's like, I was like yelling that like while it's like getting ready. I was like, I want to beat him, like about myself pretty much. And then when I got to the race, honestly, I think it helps like to do like something like this with someone. Like thankfully my brother and sister-in-law were in the same corral because they got there before me and they already got their bib and everything. So unfortunately, like we had no idea like I was going to be in the same corral. So I could have been in C by myself. I could have been in E by myself. And like we wouldn't have known that until like the day before, because I got my bib the day before the marathon. So thankfully that like probably made me a lot less nervous. I sat there, I did pray. So I did pray, and just I remember like because I was a basketball player growing up before the big game, even before like my bodybuilding competition, powerlifting. Just I always had those thoughts. I would always like do a short prayer and just like I said, block out everything. I know that sounds like ridiculous, but like I think at the point where you're competing or doing something that's like something that's like a little bit crazy, I guess you would say, you gotta just like you gotta like empty the mind, which I think meditation, a lot of times where you just gotta be empty in the head. I know that sounds like bad. It's like, why are you so empty-headed? But like being able to be empty-headed is probably a great trait I think like everyone should learn, because a lot of times people are always caught up in the moment. But yeah, honestly, like before the race, I was just a little nervous. I think more when when we were walking, right? So like because like the corrals are set up where it's like you have to like we walked probably like almost like a half mile to a mile to the start line. So it's like I'm telling you, I think I walked like 3 miles by the time I even got to the start line. But I think more the nerves kept coming before the start line. But once we hit the start line, like I knew my brother and sister-in-law, they had like a slower pace, and we talked about it. And you and I talked about it. Like, was I going to run with them? Was I not? I chose not to because I wanted to make sure I wanted to see where I was at. But I gave my brother a hug, told him I loved him, and then I said, "Call me if you need me. Love you, bro." And then I ran off. So it's like, I think that helped tremendously, because unfortunately my wife wasn't able to go because she's really pregnant at this point. So it's not advised to like travel at this time. So like, obviously like I would have relied on her for most of that stuff, but thankfully like my brother and sister-in-law were there. And and I think that's what helped. Like if I was by myself, maybe a little bit different. I think, obviously I don't know because I never ran a marathon by myself, but I think that would have been a lot different, to answer your question.
Nice. Sweet. I love it. So like as you're getting into the race, did you ever get like overwhelming, like sense of hunger, or like how many pit stops did you have to make for like pee breaks or other bodily fluids that you had to release? What was that like, buddy?
Yeah, so fortunately, the Disney Marathon was expensive. Like I'm gonna, we're always truthful with this stuff, and like we're never gonna, like, if you have questions, let me know. But I'm gonna get to that answer. But like the Disney Marathon was expensive. And what the good thing about being expensive is, right? So a lot of the times, like when you spend money, you should be able to get that stuff, right? But if you don't spend the money, like say if you go to a hotel, pay $30 a night, don't expect the pool to be working. Don't expect the shower to be clean, right? So think about it in that sense of a marathon. But we looked at the map itself, but like I honestly didn't really look at the map. I wanted to make sure there was enough bathrooms, of course, because I have like a terrible bladder. But going through since I went through the race already, there was like so much medical tents, so much bathrooms, so much food stops, so much water. In the water stations, they had Powerade or water. Your boy didn't even drink most of the water. I drank mostly a Powerade. So I know my electrolytes, and I know hydration. I drank like maybe one every like 8 miles, but I would just drink mostly a Powerade. But like they had so many stations, and I think it was really like high maintenance for like a marathon. Like my brother, who, like I told you, has run multiple marathons, my other brother, not the one who ran it with me, he'd probably tell you that they don't have half that stuff at probably those marathons. So it was really nice to be able to have that. Now to get to the point where you asked me about like hydration and like feeling hunger. The only thing I brought with me, so I brought a Camelback with like a 1.5 liter bladder. It had 2 liquid IVs, and then obviously water to fill it. And that's the only hydration I had when it came to my stack, because I knew they had Powerade and I knew they had stuff on the course. So I knew like the Powerade was gonna, I didn't need to bring like liquid IV packets and then fill up my bladder during the race. I only went through the bladder literally. I think I finished my Camelback at like mile 24, 25. So I was barely like sipping on it. I just sipped on it like if there was for some reason a big break between waters, like I would sip on it while I was running. I also ran with a fanny pack. I had my squirrel nut butter. It's like a cocoa butter wax pretty much. It's pretty much for like chafing and all that. Fortunately, I only put it on. So I put it on only before the race. I didn't reapply at all. I felt really comfortable. So usually I applied it when I run. I apply it on my arms by my armpits. I applied it on my nipples. I applied it on my waistband of my shorts. I applied it by like my inner thighs. Not to be too personal, by like my butt cheeks. And then I actually applied the squirrel butter on my feet where my contact area is, like my heels, and then like the inner part and the outer part of my foot before I put my socks on. And then I'll skip ahead, but thankfully I had no blisters at the end of the race. Nothing at all. I had blisters the whole training for the past like 10 months, no blisters at the day of the marathon. So God bless Hoka's, and God bless the socks features, like Feetures, the Features ultralight socks. I wore those and shoes. I didn't even change my socks out once. My feet felt fine the whole time. And then my fanny pack had that, and my phone. I brought chapstick with me. They actually had Vaseline at the medical tents, which you could have probably put on your lips. But I brought my own chapstick just in case, because, I just didn't, with the Vaseline, they gave you gloves, but like it wasn't necessary. They also gave the Vaseline for chafing too at the medical tents. And then I had more of those gels in my fanny pack. And then my brother gave me the salt tablets. So you could just, if for some reason you're almost feeling like you're cramping or whatnot, you could just toss some back and then just drink some water. And then back to the point where we were talking about like stops and like food and stuff. So probably like every other bathroom stop, I pretty much stopped, which ranges from like 2 miles to 4 miles. Um, and it's probably because honestly, I was like, I probably like overhydrated when it came to the water stations because I was scared that I was going to underhydrate. You know, like because I trained in the desert for so long, like, you know, it's a different climate, you know, it's the humidity factor. I just didn't know, right? You never know how your body's going to react. So every like water station, like they would give you like one Powerade cup, but like obviously they're not going to like tell you no to like get two or three. So every like Powerade cup I got, I would get like two or three where people were drinking like one at a time. So I would chug three, throw them to the garbage as I'm like power walking, and I get my butt running. Um, Also, mind you, I did run with my Fitbit, and I was looking at my average pace, and I was trying to go like by like 10 to 11 minutes. And we'll talk about that too. But like the bathroom breaks, it was like every 2 to 4 miles. Thankfully, and I know Roman, in the back of your mind and the listeners, actually I didn't poop at all during the run, which I was so blessed. Like because during training, I always had to. If I had to do 8 miles or more, there's no way I wasn't going to. So kudos to my digestive system keeping it together. I held all the nutrients. I've held all the water. The medical staffs or the medical tents were really clutch. I don't know what it is. When Roman and I hiked the Grand Canyon, he knows about this, but my inner thighs always cramp up. Like I remember, like I had a bunch of sugar candy, and then a bunch of water, and I was fine when it came to the Grand Canyon. But like I said, I knew it was going to happen. So a couple medical tents, I actually did get BioFreeze, and I rubbed it on my thighs. So the numbing effect actually helped. Like when I was running and my thighs didn't feel it as much. I just didn't want my thighs to lock up. So, you know, obviously that's why I was grabbing a bunch of Powerade. And then like the two is I would feel it to the point where like right now they're still sore after 3 days, but like my inner thighs get so cramped up. And I knew that prior to like running the marathon. So I did that. And then they had banana stations, which I think I digested like 4 or 5 bananas that day. And then they had like Jelly Belly makes like these caffeinated jelly beans. They had those. So I did grab like a couple of those when I run pie. They had Dove chocolate at one of the stations. And then, and I think that's about it. So like the hunger factor, it wasn't really there because I did have like quite a bit of like electrolytes and water. But by the end of it, like when I stopped, that's when I like got really hungry. They did bring out like they did give us like a box full of like dry goods, which it wasn't the best. I wanted like pizza or hamburgers, man. Like I didn't want no like these bags processed snacks. And it was like animal crackers, like sunflower seeds, and like pretzels. And I'm like, and then my brother was like, these pretzels are making me thirsty, like for Seinfeld. But yeah, that was about it for like the stops. Yeah.
Nice. When you're like mile 15, mile 20, what was hurting the most? Like as you're like crossing the finish line, where you're like, dang, like my like insert this body part is killing me right now.
Yeah, honestly, the two biggest ones was my inner thighs and then my hip flexors. Unfortunately, I don't think my glutes were activating that much, and I don't know what it was, but like I don't know if it's because maybe I wasn't running as much and like biking more at towards the end of it. But maybe I needed to do like some like, you know, glute bands with like, you know, kicking my legs out. But like my glutes weren't like sore at all. But like my front of my hips, I couldn't even lift my knee up like 2 inches. That's how sore my hips were. Like in the front of my hip area by like right in front of like the leg on the top portion. And like right now they're still sore, but like thankfully like my range of motion is back. Because like getting ready to catch a flight, I literally was like worried I was gonna miss it because I couldn't even lift my knee up. And like putting your pants on is rough, putting your underwear on is rough because you have to lift your legs up.
Sitting on the toilet?
Yes, yes. So yeah, and like walking in general was rough. I felt like I had like misaligned hips, like because my hips were just like hurting so bad.
Yeah.
That was about it. Like my inner thighs and my hips. Um, Thankfully, like nothing else was hurting. Like I said, like I got lucky. I think like my feet didn't hurt really bad. My calves didn't hurt that bad. My butt didn't hurt that bad. Like I would think also my arms would have hurt from like pumping so much.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it at all. I thought my back would have been a little bit sore because of like just in general, just like keeping yourself like in that groove the whole time. Nothing hurt besides like my hips and my inner thighs.
How many steps?
Um, so we decided to go to Epcot and Magic Kingdom afterwards. We all went back to the hotel and took a shower and everything and changed. But like I knew if I laid down or sat down, I would have fell asleep. So I actually like pretty much left the hotel like right away afterwards, and we went to Epcot and Magic Kingdom. But I just posted on Instagram today. But if you didn't see it, we did about 81,000 steps and then 42.9 miles in distance, which I don't think I'll ever beat. I'm going to tell you this right now. Like, I'm not going to say never, but like, I don't think I'm ever going to beat that distance and steps. Like, hands down, yeah.
David Goggins Jr. here, Gainz Nation.
The guy doesn't he run like 200-mile races or 100-mile races?
He's ludicrous. Yeah, he's crazy.
But I mean, he's like pretty well. The last year, he's like pretty much done with that stuff. He can't really do it anymore. So his body pretty much is like canceling, like out. But he knew that. He knew he had problems before, and he knew his body. Yeah. But either way. But yeah, the other thing is, I guess to add on to like the marathon too is like it was very emotional to finish. Like it was like crazy. You don't really think about how far it is, but I think the marathon was a lot more better than training by yourself. I think the worst part of like running a marathon is training by yourself before the marathon. I think when you run with a bunch of people that are motivated to do something that you want to do, the spectators on the side, they had like DJs on the side of the course at a couple points, like just like playing like 90s music and like, cheering us on. Like you won't beat that. I think that was the best part of it, and I'm happy to be a part of like that part of like because it was the 30th year of the marathons because they started 30 years ago. That's why the theme was like 90s because it was the 30th anniversary. But other than that, like the only thing is, like I said, I think because of how popular the marathon run was, I think that's what. So I did get 5 hours in what was it, 29 minutes or 30 minutes? 32 minutes. I can't remember anymore. But I think the only thing is if I did have to change one thing about it, I think like because of it was such a big marathon, I think I could have got like my goal, which was like 5 hours or less. Because there were some parts where I was waiting for a bathroom for like a minute or two. In a minute or two in a run, times that by, I said every 2 to 4 miles. So we're talking like 12 stops. So think about it, 2-3 minutes here, 2-3 minutes here. That's almost 30 minutes right there. And I knew I could do it, but it just, like I said, I wanted to be in the positive state than a negative state, like drinking those Powerades. I don't regret that. Like I don't regret like drinking like more water than I needed to, because I didn't want to be in a spot where it's like medical is going to have to like tell me I can't run anymore, or I would have to finish by walking. Yeah. Right. So that could have happened, and I knew that could have happened, but I didn't want it to happen. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to add. I know we're over by like 4 minutes, so Did you want me to answer any other question real quick, or?
I think one more. Would you do it again, buddy?
Oh, that's a good question. It's literally, it's not really in my nature. I'm always gonna be a competitor, and like I said, running the marathon was really fun, and everything about the whole weekend was really fun. It's just I'm a lifter, and I think and please don't quote me on this. Please don't ask me if I'm gonna do it, because this is not a for sure. But the only way I'd ever do something like that again is either like a half Ironman or an Ironman. I think the aspect of biking and like swimming would be a great challenge for me. Like, yes, the challenge was for in the beginning was running. Like, I'm not a runner. I played basketball, and my brother is cross country. The one who runs marathons, he was cross country. So I'd run with him when he ever wanted like a running partner. But I'm not a runner. Never was really a runner. But like, I think my competitive nature, if I had to do it again, I probably had to do like maybe like a half Ironman or an Ironman, or even a half marathon, probably. Like the half marathon probably would be so fun. And like, I think like that would be a lot more fun for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that's a lot to answer that question, but like, I just think, yeah, like I was saying in the last episode, like I do want to try to like the jiu-jitsu world and like self-defense. And, a lot of the running did interfere in my lifting last year. Not to say like I regret it, because like I'm still pretty strong. But like, like I said, it's like there's always a next chapter, a new chapter I want to try. And like, I don't know if I'll like something else unless I like try it or don't try it, so.
And you kept your muscularity too. I think that's an important point. Like a lot of people, they think if they start running, they're going to lose their gains.
Yeah.
But like, living, breathing example. And it's like CrossFit is one way that like a lot of people will do it, but like you have your own unique training, which is like a combination of like power building, and you just finished the marathon and you're jacked and you're like strong to get out. So
I mean, I was still able to deadlift 405 for reps. Still able to squat like over 200 pounds. Still able to bench over 200 pounds. So it's like, that's why I want to do like a video, because like Disney had a schedule for running, and like some of the days it'd be like 3 or 4 days of running, and I never did any of that. Never did any of that. And I know like a lot of people are going to be misinformed, and a lot of people, well, it's not really misinformed. It's like a lot of people think they're going to need to do that. Right. And like for me, like I was saying, like my time wasn't the best, but I still qualified for the Chicago Marathon. So it's like, like I think that's pretty cool. And I didn't even know that. Like Sam's the one who told me that, and like, cause I didn't look it up. Yeah, but like the Boston Marathon, like for our age group, you have to get like 3 hours or less.
it's ridiculous. The Boston
Yeah.
Marathon is insanely competitive.
Yeah, and to give you guys an example, from my other brother, not the one that ran it with me, his fastest marathon was a 3 hour 35 minute.
Yeah, it's like, I think you have to average like a 6:47 mile, like 6 minutes 47 seconds, something along those lines. It's just slower than a 6:40 mile, I believe.
And I don't know if you looked, because I sent you the link, right? Or no, did I just send you the picture?
I think you just sent me like a screenshot or like a picture, yeah.
But if you looked at the link for the Disney Marathon, there were some people that ran in under 3 hours.
Dang, that's great.
Yeah, so those people qualify for the Boston Marathon pretty much. So those people were there at the Disney Marathon.
The people that finish in like 2 hours, 10 minutes, like the people that like win like the Boston Marathon and yada yada, they're going over 12 miles an hour for over 26 miles. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. And I think, in like, back to your point, Roman, like I think I could have probably been a faster runner if I did lose some muscle mass.
Yeah.
Like, yes, like, remember I did tell everyone, like, that's why I didn't go over 200 pounds. Like, I knew that I needed to probably be a little bit lighter, and like, I'm 6'2" for crying out loud. So I'm like not even over 200 pounds. So it's like, it's already rough for me to stay under 200 pounds, because it's like, as we know, like, we do have to gain some fat. We need to gain some weight to build muscle. So like, I took the whole year, like, not really gaining weight at all. Like, obviously, like, I did lose my weight to like 192, 191, and then I got up to like 195, and like, and then I was hovering like 195 to 197. So like I knew in the back of my head, like, obviously, if I wanted a better marathon time, like, I probably would have had to been like 180, like, hands down. But see, the thing is, like Roman was saying, like, there, like the muscle strength and like the weights, I wanted that to be there too. Um, like, I'm proud of it. I'm happy about it, and like I put everything on the table. And like, obviously, like, there's ways to do better. Like yeah, like my brother who runs that 3 hours 35 minutes, like, when he runs those marathons, he's like 155 to 160, and he's more like Roman's height. And like, and like, even if Roman wanted to run a marathon and be at that time, like, now Roman would have to be like 155. And would you want to do that while trying to work out? It's like, it's like one of those things. It's like, you could, but it's just more about getting it done, living in the moment, and competing with yourself. That's what I think.
I love it, buddy. That was amazing. Thank you very much for that.
Well, thanks for letting me talk. I feel like I'm gonna need like a gallon of water after this now. But let us know if you guys have any questions. As always, we're always happy to help. Message us on Instagram, DM us, or message us on YouTube. Throw in the comments, and we'll try to reach out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe, and then we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.